I've been putting these three off for a while because I hadn't found the right hook. That's all changed. In this setting, there will be many false gods. There'll be fallen watchers, tyrannical Nephilim, even ancient, highly skilled humans. Stories of these figures will be carried safely on board the Shipwright's vessel and told from generation to generation in the new post-Diluvian world. But there's another dimension to the concept of dead gods. Humans are made to worship, and they'll worship just about anything they can get their hands on. They'll even worship people who don't want to be worshipped. These three men will go on to become the leaders of the new world, helping to build and guide it as it expands. They'll be known by all. Stories of their wisdom, strength, ingenuity, and even their faults will be passed on with all the other stories. Of course, over time, heroes can become legends, legends can become traditions, and traditions can become faith. Now, I could go into excruciating detail about the research I did here, but at the end of the day, I really just thought it would be cool. To cut to the chase, Ham becomes Horus, Shem becomes Gilgamesh, and Japheth becomes Thor. Ham's descendants migrate down towards Egypt and eventually spread across Africa. Horus is the son of the god Osiris and is associated with kingship, the sky and sun, protection and justice, war and victory, vengeance and restoration. He's represented by the falcon, the sun, and the symbol of the eye. Shem's descendants are said to have spread out into Mesopotamia and the east. The character of Gilgamesh isn't a god, but a legendary Mesopotamian hero and king. He's associated with, well, kingship, obviously, but also heroism, friendship, and wisdom. During his story, after the death of his friend, he seeks immortality from Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim was instructed by a god to build a large wooden vessel for his family and the animals to survive a great flood. I mean, come on. Japheth's descendants migrated north and west. Thor is the son of Odin, associated with thunder and storms, protection, combat, agriculture, justice, and travel. A hammer makes for an impressive weapon and also a useful shipbuilding tool. In this context, Nama becomes the inspiration for the Norse goddess Frigga and the Egyptian goddess Isis, who are both associated with queenship, wisdom, marriage, and fertility. Frigga brings foresight as well as weaving and spinning, while Isis adds devotion and resurrection. And yes, this makes the Shipwright the seed of the Norse god Odin and the Egyptian god Osiris. Both of them represent kingship, conflict, and death. Odin brings magic and wanderers, while Osiris adds agriculture and regeneration. It is interesting that a Norse god would be associated with wine in a country where wine is scarce. And his pair of crows, Hugin and Munin, mighty interesting. The Mesopotamian character of Utnapishtim gets thrown in for free because that's just literally Noah. The cool thing about all this to me is that when the time comes to start writing the story, I can lean on these and other characters as a framework to tell the lost versions of some of their stories, like Odin sacrificing himself on Yggdrasil in the pursuit of wisdom, Osiris being betrayed by Set and being resurrected by Isis, Thor fighting the great serpent Jormungandr. As I go, I'm sure even more opportunities and associations will pop up. I feel like a kid in a candy warehouse big enough to lose the Ark of the Covenant in. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.